Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Jeffrey bin Sofyan. So today I would like to present my idea on Johor Urban Residency, the concept of communal and sustainable living and social housing for the increasingly populated of transient resident. So first of all, what is social housing? Social housing is for people with the low incomes and particular needs, and it also focus for the weak position people in the housing market, such as immigrants, asylum seekers, and also the social housing focus to the socio-economic status. There are three types of social housing. First is the public housing, community housing, and also the transitional housing. So there are four factors of social housing. First is the low income household. Second is the homeless. Third, overpopulation. And lastly, large immigration. So the urban migration is basically leads to the high demands for people looking for the social housing. So let's take a look on the urbanization in Johor. Increase in rural urban migration such as people from Segamat, Batu Pahat, and also in Mersing. The other state also come to Johor, such as Perak and Sabah and Sarawak, because the most reason they are looking forward to work at Singapore. And then there are some statistics state that about 300,000 Malaysians commute daily from Johor to the islands republic to work. And we can see that the statistic here state that the population and employment in Johor increase year by year. So what are the issues relating with urban community and social housing? So first is social issue is massive urbanization produce relative rapidity or density of experience, meanings, perception, and activities in context of life. This could say that how their daily lifestyle contribute to their quality of life and the housing conditions. Second is the high intensity of individuality aspect among the urban residents, because the economic demand leads people to neglect some quality of living environment. And then lastly is the less configuration of human well-being physically and psychologically in living environment, because currently the existing living environment are not supported well with the urban, social and behavioral. So for the architectural issues, first is the lack of proper facilities. Facilities is very important in terms of to get the community engagements. The second is cause of sick building syndromes due to the poor housing conditions, such as insufficient light and ventilation, which could give some harmful and help to the residents. And also the adaptable living for the various background of community are not catered in the current social housing, because the typical layout neglect some sort of various user background, which could expand and reduce. Here are some idea of the issue statement here. Because of impact urbanization, they lead to the fast pace of life. And then how fast pace of life could give some impact to the social and behavioral issue. So the first is the high environmental health and risk. Second is the higher degree of commercialization, poor condition space and place, and lastly is the social fragmentation here. So the aims of this thesis is to propose a social housing that emphasizes of concepts of communal and sustainable living, of cultural, environmental, and also the economical aspect for the urban resident, and also the increasing population of transient resident. The design framework here focus to this communal and sustainable living, that focus to the four aspects. First is the environmental, the physical, psychological, cultural, and social. And then there are sub elements that support to the main aspects, such as the unit layout itself, how the accessibility of residents, the connectivity among of them, the ventilation and lightings for their unit layout, for their housing units, and then how the open place and facilities are combined together to have or to produce a good communal and sustainable living. So there are about five building programs. First is the public facilities, which are space for residents and public to utilize to fill their basic needs and public usage. And then second is the resident activity engagement for people, for the resident itself to have their outdoor activity at the same time to have some of connection with the public. And then the residents private facilities, this is space basically designed for the residents. And then their housing unit itself as a place for their safety, for their privacy, for their living. And then the service management, which which is a space to generate operate the buildings. So here are some space of tabulation calculation I have done. So let's take a look at the site analysis. So our site is located at Jalan Gelang Patah. We're located at Gelang Patah, which is in front of Jalan Gelang Patah Skudai. So this road could be the main road lead to this second link to the Singapore. So the Gelang Patah itself could be one of the targeting area for people to basically for urban residents to migrate in Johor itself, and also they are located near to the shop lot and also Perumahan Rakyat 5 Kedai, existing terrace house, and also the Kampung Melayu 5 Kedai here. So here are the supported image of how this existing context in this proposed site. So in terms of site analysis, I would like to focus on the sun path and wind flow here, because the sun path is the sun path is facing to the wide surface of site area. So here are some constraints on this sun direction and the view itself. And then the accessibility is quite good in the Kampung Melayu here, and also the existing terrace house, but lack connection in this area. And also the view towards the site are quite interesting, because they have the kampung and they have their neighborhood area. So this is very good view in terms of the residential vibes. Then the design strategy first focus on the livable place to create the livable housing with the facilities provide and create either secure and surveillance spaces. So the ground level here could be to strategize to attract people to have the livable activity here. And then the connectivity and walkability. The connectivity not only in the ground level for people from the public to access to these facilities, but also targeting the connectivity among the residents itself and to make it more interesting connections. And then the collective and shared space. This is more focusing to the unit layout, how to have the unit layout that have a good collective and shared space, so that the connection between the residents could produce. And then the biophilic living environment. So this is more to the surrounding context of the social housing to have the good environment sustainable of surroundings area. So this is the design process. So my design process basically is zoning to the private and public spaces here. So the public located near to this area because easy access for people from existing terrace house, also from the kampung to get into this area, and also the private area is more to the residents activity area. So this could give some privacy. And then here are some the zoning of spaces, basically spaces for publics more to the shops, and then the private area more to the resident activity area. So this center area is more to the open, more focused to interact between the open area for people, public and then resident. So this I could propose to have the open plaza or open food court to interact between them. And then provide the 3 different unit layout, basically for the family unit, for the couple unit, and for the single unit at the podium plan here. So here, podium plan. So here the podium plan give some privacy or the private garden for this residents. And then to enhance the connectivity here, to enhance the connectivity and walkability, so I designing to have the green terrace for better connections and to have the interesting view, people from for each level, and interesting view through the outside. And then the clustered building tower itself for a better connection internally and avoiding from direct east and west suns. And then I would like to have there are some constraints in terms of privacy, and because in terms of privacy and between the units. So to overcome these problems, so the facade itself to have on the tilt opening to reduce the direction to reduce the direct side to the spaces in each of the units. And then each of the spaces here to have the collective spaces for each of the units. So this could give some interaction between the resident in the tower. So here are the concept of the planning itself. On the ground is the livable place for people from public that interact with these facilities here, and also the resident itself. So this could be the general activity for both sides, and then to increase the connectivity and walkability, to have the green terrace or high or ramp or green ramp or roof or green roof. So this also to have a good connection between the connectivity and how the biophilic environments. So the two merge of aspect could represent well in this podium area. And in terms of housing units, it's not only designing a clustered spaces which could give some sense of proximity for the user, and also the unit also have the shared space to open up their connection between the resident itself.